Okay, on the next edition of the YouTubers Bunch, this is kind of a piggyback on top of the one that you hopefully have watched the previous episode, which was if you only had to pick one radio, what would it be and why? This one kind of evolved on its own during that talk. So today we're going to talk about if you only had to pick one antenna, would you build one, buy one? What would it be? Why would you do that? And we're going to talk about that today. So stay tuned.
Shut up and sit down.
Hey, okay. So that puts something in my head, which is a dangerous thing. I'm gonna go get a refill here, but let's transition. We talked about radios, okay? So let's say this wasn't planned. If you had to pick one antenna, I'll go last. You guys go ahead.
I'll go second to last.
You know, I've got one. So I bought a Windom with a vertical radiator. It is long. It's like 132 feet, 133 feet. I have used that antenna on Missouri QSO, a couple of parks on the air, and that antenna, it's not the most compact, but that antenna for the radios that I pair it with seemed to work out the best for me. I like the horizontal Windom with the vertical radiator, and I seem to you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the horizontal and you get the vertical. And I have been very impressed with how that antenna has performed for me with the radios that I pair it with. It is just a radio waves. Radio Waves is in my backyard in Lake St. Louis. They're about an hour away from me, and that antenna has worked out great for me. I also like, just your standard dipole, but that Windom has worked out the best for me.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that before, not that antenna in particular, but that vertical and horizontal element kind of combined. And you were talking about how that works out good for you. I'll have to try that at some point myself. It sounds interesting.
Yeah. So it's 132 feet, and the 1-to-1 balun is like 2/3. In the standard Windom, and then it's got a 30. I mean, you got to get it up high. They do make a Windom that has a 16-foot vertical radiator, but I have the 32 or 33-foot vertical radiator, and then it's got this big, huge current balun at the end, and that's where your coax connects up to, and it has worked great. All the times that I put it up, I am impressed on how well it performs.
So I just went and got a refill on certain necessities. But did you, just one question, Kyle, you probably said this. Did you build the Windom, or is this one that you purchased?
No, I bought it through Radio Waves. I got it.
Okay. I was wondering if it was a Radio Waves.
Yep. I got it through Gigaparts, and it came in the mail. I strung it up. I originally had one of their 160s, and that thing was just way too long. That thing was like 200 and some odd feet.
Yeah.
And the place that we go for Missouri QSO, we've got, it's acres and acres. It's a conservation area, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. And we strung that thing between two trees, and I was like, this thing is way too long. The tension on 230 foot to get that thing up and make it horizontal is just, it's tough. Mm-hmm. So I sent it back to them, and they cut it down to 132 or whatever feet to make it 80 meters and above. And I love that antenna. If I had the space, that would be my go-to antenna. But it's big, right? You got to have a lot of space.
Is that an end fed? And then you said something about a vertical. I'm not familiar with.
Yeah,
like an off-center fed dipole-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mike, let's say it's 132 feet. The balun is like at 90 feet. So you've got 45 feet at one end, and you've got 90 feet at the other end.
Right.
So it's like 2/3. And then coming down off the balun is a 30-foot piece of RG8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, RG8.
RG8, yeah, that's right.
And then at the bottom there's a huge ferrites. So the choke, yeah, thank you. The choke, and then your coax connects to the bottom of the choke. So you've got horizontal polarization and you've got vertical polarization going on, because you're that vertical, that radiator that connects up to that 1-to-1 balun, it radiates also.
Okay, so you're getting a vertical and a dipole out of it, basically.
Yes.
Huh.
Interesting.
And then 132 feet.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who swears by those Carolina Windoms. I've never used one. Kyle, if you're in a position to pack that in a suitcase and you come to Costa Rica, you should bring that, because we'll put the how high up does the off center fed part need to be?
If you can get it up 35 feet, I've had it lower, and what I do is I take it and I string it on the ground just a little bit. But you want that choke balun up off the ground just a couple of feet.
We've got 90 feet worth of tower that we keep in Costa Rica, and generally what we'll do, we don't put up 90 foot of tower. We'll generally put up a 50 foot and a 40 foot tower. Yeah. In addition to that, we have a crank up tower that's like 35 or 40 feet once you crank it all the way up. So yeah, what we just do is we put a couple antennas at the top of the tower and then pulleys here and pulleys there. So we'll just pulley up a dipole usually, or a couple of dipoles.
Sounds like you're going to need all of that.
We did one of those My Antennas infed last time, and that worked out well. But if you brought that, last time we actually had an off center fed 160 meter, and we strung that up, and we couldn't really make many contacts on it. We didn't really do that well with it, but we had plenty of room to do it. It was hung up in the correct configuration. So, there's plenty of room out there. There's tons of room out there.
Yeah. I was just saying the 160 is just way too big.
Right.
And I just wasn't impressed with the performance on the 160. And the nice thing about the Windom is it's resonant on most everything. So if it's cut correctly, you don't have to have a tuner on the money bands, on the 40 and 20 meter. And typically on 15, you don't have to have a tuner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, off-center feds are much more forgiving on the multi-band aspect than a regular center fed would be. So, good. Yeah, that'd be a fun experiment, I think. Of course, 160 meter, you'd want the apex of the antenna up higher than 35 or 40 feet.
Right.
And that might have been your issue with performance. But
yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah. Cool. Who else? Have you the only one who's gone?
Yes.
Okay, so one of you other guys go. Best antenna. One antenna if you had to pick one.
I guess I'll go. The probably what I would pick is a spool of THHN wire from Home Depot and a cutting board from Walmart, and I'd make my own. I like to make my own antennas, and
got one right here for you.
There you go. You got it.
Oh wow.
So being a cheapskate and just interested in figuring out how all this stuff works, I like to build antennas, and I've had a lot of luck with just plain old dipoles and fan dipoles.
Well, that's kind of my question. Building antennas is fine. I'm not talking about a purchased antenna. What would you build if you could just build one antenna and use it? What would you build?
Fan dipole. That's what I have here in my shack. I have a 40 and 80 meter fan dipole, and for the operating that I do, it's fine. It suits my needs. I make tons of contacts on it and whatever. I'm not going to win a contest with it, but just for my casual use and on 80 meters NVIS, that kind of a thing. So if there's an emergency or whatever, I can communicate within the state or New England kind of a thing. And I can use it on receive. It works great as a receiver. I hook it up to my SDR Play radios all the time and receive satellites on it. I mean, it's fine. So for me, I think that's what I would run. Close second would be, and people are going to laugh at this, but a close second is a Mako V58 CB antenna. Those things are cool. You can get them cheap. I think they're like 70, 80 bucks, something like that. You throw
okay,
them
I'm
up.
not familiar with that. You're gonna have to explain what that is.
It's a vertical antenna for a CB base station. It's 5/8 wave on 27 megahertz, but you can tune it up on 20 meters through 6, I think. And you know, get it up as high as you can, and it'll work great. And if you ever want to run CB, well, you can do that too. But I use mine on 20 meters and 10, and made a lot of contacts on that too. And again, it's cheap, so you know, and they're easy to put up and that kind of a thing. So that'd be a close second, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, it sounded like Hustler makes a 5BC TV XYZ, whatever it is.
Yeah.
5-band and 6-band vertical that's kind of funky looking when you put it all together. I thought that might be what you're talking about, but
no, it's really just a CB antenna, so it's cheap. You know, like I said, I think it's around 60, 70 bucks. I don't know. I bought mine like 10 years ago, and they're cool antennas, you know, and you can't beat the price.
Yeah. Cool. Good deal. Steve, what do you think?
I'm a dipole guy. In fact, Rob, Kyle, one of you two has a video where you made a multi-band dipole that I have not built one yet, but I've watched it, and I'm thinking I'm going to throw one of those together, if nothing else for the POTA stuff my daughter and I like to do. But dipoles are so cheap and easy to throw together, and that 88-cent Walmart Center insulator you can't beat.
Yeah, that's what I use for POTA. Well, I'm experimenting with a vertical antenna now. I haven't taken it on an activation yet, but prior to that, that's all I use is my my linked dipole that I built, and it works great. I've gotten into Europe on that thing at a park running 30 watts. So, you know, as long as the band is cooperating, it'll work fine with it for you.
Yeah, and they're easy to build and easy enough to throw up. In fact, we started out using, what brand is it? It's an off-brand Jetstream, off-brand ham stick kind of thing, mounted up, and we built this dipole, and we hadn't touched that ham stick thing again. So, you know, my daughter's like, "Whoa, this is so much better." So we just stick with that. So that's my go-to.
Cool.
Yeah,
Mike?
Dipole's going to get out. Dipole's going to get out a little bit better than a ham stick.
Yes.
Which antenna? So we're building an antenna or just any antenna?
Doesn't matter. Any antenna. Doesn't matter. So, build it, buy it, whatever.
Well, I guess let me come at this from two different angles just because I can. If I'm building an antenna and I have the wherewithal, and this is a hypothetical situation, but I'd probably build like an all-band Yagi. Why not? You know, if I have a tower and all that. But in reality, I would have to go with a fan dipole as well as the first HF antenna I made. It's not up right now. I'm probably going to take the antenna I have down now and put that back up because I like the fact that one, it works and I built it. So there's a bit of pride in there. I've got an MFJ 2012 off center fed dipole up right now for home, but it would be nice to have some gain, but I don't have room for a tower and things in my house or in my yard. So that's not ever going to happen. But for portable use, I have really been digging the PackTenna Mini 9-to-1 vertical. It's stupid easy to deploy. Yes, it needs a tuner, but now I have an external tuner and I have 2 QRP radios that have tuners. So that's a non-issue anymore. It gets out. I love it. It's lightweight, it's compact, and all bands. I love my Wolfer recoils, but you got to move that collar up and down every time you want to change bands. So if you're just feeling extremely lazy and you would rather push a button for a tuner, that's the way I would go. So, yeah.
Mike, do you put that in the vertical configuration, or do you launch that thing up in a tree, or what do you do?
So you're talking about the PackTenna Mini, I would assume. In Michigan, Michigan state parks, you can't put anything in a tree. They don't want any cross contamination. They don't want you to damage branches with ropes and things going over it. So, and I get it. You're in a national park. It's about preservation of nature and things like that. I respect that. So I bring a telescopic whip. So I run it just vertically up the whip with that 43-foot mast that I have. So I'm running it in a vertical configuration. And the PackTenna Mini has these little miniature banana plugs on the bottom of it that you can plug a counterpoise. So I took last year at Dayton, I went up to the wire man and bought like 125 feet or so of the same wire that PackTenna uses. It's like 26 gauge wire. It's really slick. So it's a really nice quality wire. So I put 3 of those wires in one power pole, crimped it together, and then I have a little pigtail with a mini banana jack to power pole because I use that counterpoise. So I have 3 wires into one power pole that I use as a counterpoise, and I think they're like 15 feet or so, and it tunes wonderfully. The first QRP activation I did, I think this is back in like November, might have been around Christmas time actually. I was using the recent RS 918 and I did a QRP activation. I had to give like 45 contacts or something in maybe a half hour, if that, probably less. And that's the antenna I was using. And I really like it just because it's so compact. Really, the PackTenna Link dipole gets out farther. That gets out farther than any other portable antenna that I own by far. But it requires 60 some odd feet of real estate to, 30 some odd feet of dipole on either end. And just being out in a park, people are attracted to antennas like like flies on, so the smaller form factor of having that vertical mini and having it 43 feet, because the wire itself is like 41 feet. So the balun, or the unun rather, is only a foot off the ground or so. So it takes every bit of that 43 foot. That's why I wanted that mast, was specifically for that antenna. And it gets out, man. It is a really, really great antenna.
Were you the one telling me, Mike, that PackTenna's back ordered on all their stuff because that guy's doing it part-time or whatever?
Yeah, there's actually, I've been seeing some emails that come across the groups .io forum. I think they have the linked dipole, but when you buy the linked dipole, it only comes as a 20-meter dipole. So you have to, as an add-on, you can buy the other, the little mini banana jacks. I haven't seen the wire itself on their website lately, so I don't know if he's not carrying that. But you have to understand that is not George's full-time job. He has an actual legitimate job, and he does it as a hobby. Like I'm sure a lot of other, like the Wolf River Coil guys, that's just a thing they do, and probably the same thing with like soda beams, they found
us too.
Yeah, they found an antenna that works, and hey, I can sell this and make a buck. So you have to be patient. One of the guys on the groups.io was like, you can tell they're getting very antsy and like, why can I not buy one? They want one.
Right.
So, but George did say that they have ordered the parts. They've got to get them into production, and they should be out soon. He's never given a date. But if you want a PackTenna, I'll tell you what, they are worth every penny, and they are worth the wait. Absolutely fantastic quality and working antennas.
I've thought about ordering one a couple of times, actually. My wife and I are going back to Hawaii because she's got more airline miles than one person should have. So we get since she flies everywhere for a job, we get free trips everywhere. People say, oh, wow, you can afford to go to Hawaii. I'm like, no, not really, but we go there for free, so everybody can afford that. But I'm going to take my KX3, and we're going back in May. So by then, I should actually have my 705, and I want something small and compact I can take a wire antenna, and I thought about ordering one of those, but then you said they were back ordered the other day. I thought, well, crap, I don't know if I can get it in time.
Here's the thing about the 705, though. Again, no internal tuner.
Right. So the PackTenna,
PackTenna Mini will be rendered useless unless you bring an external tuner. that has a wide, like 10-to-1 ish tuning range.
Okay, so the PackTenna, do they not have an end fed?
They do. They have a resonant end fed. It's called I don't know what it's called.
Okay.
But it comes with a length of wire, and you can cut it so it's resonant on one band. That's different than the antenna that I use. I use the PackTenna Mini 9-to-1. I think there might just be a PackTenna Mini. If you want to make it resonant on 20 meters, or you want to make it resonant on 40 or 17 or whatever, you can. 40 or higher.
Right. So if I just wanted to say, screw it and do 20 meters,
yeah,
I could use, I could cut their antenna for resonant 20 meters.
But not the 9-to-1.
No.
Yeah.
No, not that one.
Yes, you can get and I feel that one might be available, just the single band PackTenna.
Okay.
I feel that might be it. I haven't looked at their website in a couple weeks, but
heck, I'll just get one for 30 meters and just do a bunch of FT8.
There you go. Or make a KG6 HQD patented branded speaker wire antenna.
There you go.
I'm surprised you didn't say that, man. You're one antenna. I'm surprised you had the opportunity, and Jerry's not here.
No, and that is a good antenna, but it's only single band. Although his KX2 tunes it on 40 and all that stuff, but it is still a dipole. So if you're looking for space, a vertical is definitely going to be the way to go.
Yeah.
For performance, I still maintain that a dipole is going to be better.
You know what? I have been, to answer the question at hand, I have been so amazed about how well just a regular wire, just a wire antenna. It can be a center fed dipole. It can be an end fed dipole. We had the My Antennas guys make that big square box and it's an end fed dipole. One of the guys who goes to Costa Rica with us, he brought that My Antennas one. It was the 250 watt model, I think. And we hung that up, and we hung the end of it down. It was like this far above the ground, and then it went up to the top of the 50-foot tower we had. So, and it had radios going out on either side. And we could tune that thing everywhere. 10 to 80 was easy. I think maybe we tried to tune it to 160 one time, and it tuned, but it was really inefficient. But I'm just always right now. The only thing I've got up is a homebrew center fed dipole with no balun it's just a 1-to-1 in the center. So I've got a choke right underneath the center. I've got a coax choke, and I'm going to build a ferrite bead choke. In fact, I got a couple of plans that I found online to build ferrite bead chokes for various antennas. But I'm so amazed I'm like, dude, I've talked around the world on a 1-to-1 balun. So basically no balun, center fed dipole, 40-meter dipole. I've talked to Italy. I've talked to South America. I've talked to Canada. I've talked to Spain. I've talked everywhere around the world. I'm like, this is just a freaking wire. And it's been up there for like 2 years. So it's not even like new wire, right? So it's, and I've got paracord on each end of it. So and every now and then it kind of starts to sag. So I'll go out there and tighten it up a bit. But I'm just always amazed at how well a wire antenna works. It's just, it's really incredible. Now, having said that, if I had to pick one antenna and I was like, hey, let's just put this up and be done with it, I think I've got a hex beam that I've never put together, and I've never deployed because I don't have my tower up yet. I've got a hex beam and a tower that are sitting back there waiting to be deployed. And by God, I'm going to do it this year. I've been saying that for like 3 years. So I think that everything I've read about the hex beam, and I've got an NA4RR hex beam, and Radio Waves makes a hex beam. There's a couple other guys that make a hex beam. Hex beams are great. MFJ, I think, makes one. But everything I've read about a hex beam, everybody who uses them just absolutely loves them. So I think if I had to pick one antenna for base station operation, I think I would pick a hex beam because it's so versatile. 6 to 20. And you can get a 40-meter add-on with what Radio Waves makes if you want to.
That's what Josh has, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got a hex beam.
Yeah, he does. He has a Radio Waves.
And the Christmas tree lights.
Right, right. So, if you had to do a base station, hex beam. But if you're talking about portable, yeah, any type of wire. It can be a speaker wire. It can be an end-fed. It can be a PackTenna. It can be whatever. It's just.
I want to show you guys. You excited me when you started talking about wires. I forgot about this.
Uh-oh.
So I'm going to give a plug to my friend Adam. K6 ARK is his YouTube channel, and also his call sign. This is a wire antenna. I don't know if you can see very well, but
It's actually too close right now.
that's a BNC right
Yep,
there
I see that.
with a little ferrite or a toroid rather that he wrapped. So that's a 9-to-1 on right there.
Oh wow.
And then the radiating element comes out the center, and there's also a counterpoise that comes off of this. And I tuned this. I brought this to Florida with me. It weighs like nothing. It's probably 26 gauge wire, same gauge as the PackTenna.
He
Hooks
he
right
builds
up.
that whole thing with the purple holder and the whole thing.
Well, you wrap it around the holder. This is how he sent it to me. Yes, he doesn't
Okay.
sell them though, so you can't get one. But I wanted to show you what you can do, just with a wire. So,
Would he sell me one if I contacted him and said, Mike said you would sell me one? Would he do that?
And he might start selling them after this
I don't
video
know if
drops.
I don't know if I have that much clout, but I tuned this up with the X5105. I feel I don't think it did 160, but it did everything 80 through 6 with the X5105 tuner. And the radiating element on this is probably 40-ish feet. So just to piggyback on what you were saying about a wire antenna, it doesn't take much at all. And I worked, this was not the primary antenna that I used when I was down there, but I did work a few stations on this antenna. I didn't bring a telescopic mast or anything, so I was very limited in how I could put this antenna up. And the few contacts that I made, it was basically going from the radio at table height across the yard, and probably 3/4 of it was below about 7 or 8 feet, and then it went up to a thing that I could attach it to. So a horrible deployable configuration that I had this in, but it works. So wire
That's
antenna.
awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam.
There you go.
I just that's what some people I've heard referred to as the magic of radio. You can tune up a wet noodle sometimes. Depends on what radio you got. Depends on what tuner you've got.
The best antenna that you have, or the best antenna is the one that you have right
the
now,
one that
right?
you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Any
and I've got-
antenna is better than no antenna.
Right. I've got a 1,000-foot roll of Home Depot wire. That's like I think I bought it. It was 12 gauge wire, because a lot of these wires that you see, these pre-made buy at a Hamfest wire antennas, are like 14 or 16 gauge wire. And I had a guy tell me a long time ago, he's like, if you build it with bigger wire, your ears are better. It's a better receive capability, because there's more surface area around a 12 gauge wire than there is around a 16 gauge wire. So I bought a spool of 12 gauge wire and have every intention to someday actually use it to build an antenna. But that's,
After you get that tower up.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's on the table that I've never done yet, but yeah, cool. Okay. So we are we're about 2 minutes out. So let me close it out real quick. And then if you guys are good, we'll join back and we'll talk about our other subject.
Yeah.
It's good.
So once again,
I have to go feed my cat again.
Yeah.
It's definitely code for something.
That's code for something. No cat eats that much. It's not
His
Garfield.
kitty does.
Yeah.
He's got
Wow.
a fat cat.
Okay. I got to keep this. This channel is not made for 13-year-olds, according to YouTube, and I got to keep it that way. So, yeah. So anyway, this has been an episode of the YouTubers Bunch. We really appreciate you guys watching. Share your comments below. Check out all the links in the YouTube description below for all these great channels that are out here. Everybody's all the channels are about amateur radio, but there's different facets and aspects of amateur radio that each person discusses and talks about on their channels, and it's a unique experience every time. So 73, you guys have a good one.